Hello folks, and welcome back to another Yorkshire Railways video. Today, as you can see in front of me, we've got the humble Hornby Smokey Joe. Now, what we're going to be doing today is actually upgrading it, and by upgrading it I mean adding the details that come in the package with it, painting them up, so not only just having it as the black plastic figures that Hornby provide, going to be painting those up and fitting them to the cab. One thing that I did notice is they do provide in the pack a couple of brake pipes. However, one thing I did notice from doing a little bit of research about the class online and looking at some pictures is that I can't see it, but I haven't found any pictures where there is brake piping on this type of locomotive. So I'm not going to fit that today. If somebody can sort of clarify in the comments if they do actually have it and the images that I've seen simply are just where it predates it or anything like that, then I'm happy to fit them off camera at a later date. What I will probably do with those, if it's the case that they are fitted, is I will paint the bar of it red and then I will fit it to the locomotive. But yes, we're going to leave that today. So what we've got here today is we have what looks to be the driver. So nice little stool for him to sit on, and it looks like he's fiddling with the valves. And then we've got the fireman here, or the stoker, who's got a nice shovel load of coal to put into the firebox. And I'll just go over a list of basically the tools that I have at my disposal today. So we've got this very tiny electronic screwdriver. Obviously it has quite a chunky handle, but the bit is quite small, and that's handy for getting at the screws. It's also magnetic as well, so very handy with that, so we won't lose the screws. We've got a relatively small fine paintbrush, although it appears that it's got a hair attached to it, so we'll get rid of that. We've got some cotton buds that I have rubbed from the bathroom cabinet, a pair of tweezers, we won't need the scissors today, cocktail sticks, a very large box of acrylic paints, and we have this, which I use to stick details down. So this is Gorilla Contact Adhesive. It's a crystal clear gel. It's a little bit like super glue, but it works in a different way. So it does take longer to set permanently. However, you've got about sort of 4 to 5 minutes to be able to move it. So, you know, if I'm sticking anything down, I can rummage around and move them depending on what I want them to do in terms of fixing. So it just gives me that little bit of reassurance that I can get everything positioned the way I'd like it before it sets, whereas super glue does go off a little bit quicker, hence why I'm not using that today. And I have tested this on another model that will be up for review soon, piece of rolling stock, but I've used that on there on the detail pack that came with that, and I can say it's very easy to use. The only thing I can sort of say about it is sometimes you can get these little sort of wisps come off it, so just be careful when you're applying it, and that you don't get any of those wisps on your locomotive. However, I've got this little bit of plastic is what I put the contact adhesive on before I start poking it with the cocktail stick, and once it's fully dried and cured, you can actually peel it off. So that is a handy tip. So, you know, if you do end up with any bits, it sort of reminds me a little bit when it's sort of setting. It's a little bit like hot glue. It's just a little bit easy to apply. So yeah, best thing to do is if you do get anything anywhere that it shouldn't be, just wait till it's set and then you can quite easily peel it off. However, I would try and avoid the best you can in getting it on any of the paintwork. I can't say, for instance, like any of the detailing, let's say the Smokey Joe sign or the numbering, that if you get it on there that it won't rip off those decals. So yeah, I'd try your very best to not get it on there, but I am quite confident if you did get it on, say, the paintwork on the cab or anything like that, you could probably just peel it off, but can't say that from experience because I haven't tried that. So yeah, try your best not to get any on your locomotives. Now, what we're going to do is, before I start painting these figures up, we're going to take the locomotive apart, and I've just realised I'm undoing the wrong screw. It's handy with these electronic screwdrivers is you can literally hold them in place and just keep spinning, and that will allow you to take the screws out. Not quite there yet. That should, there we go. It's handy. I will move those in a second because I've got a different pot to take them out, but I believe, if I remember rightly, that should be it. So I did take this apart the other day. There we go. So yes, word of warning with these 040s, the I always forget the part what they're called, but anyway, the rods can basically come out of the cylinders, so they're just moulded. So I'll put that in there, but actually if you want to have a bit of a closer look at what the mechanism like, there's the motor, the worm drive, and that goes down to the gears and drives the wheels, and then you've just got this bit of resistors on the top, and that helps everything run. Obviously, as you can probably see, for any of you not used to this, this doesn't have a DCC ready function. It literally is just DC only. However, you can hardwire a DCC decoder in, as well as if you want to have a speaker. There is room for all that in here. So obviously you've got your screw hole in the front, but in this back area where the firebox will be, you know, there is room. You could fit a speaker down there and have the wires come up, and you'd have room to put a decoder on top. You just have to make sure you insulate it, but that is possible, and that is what I will be doing in the future, but that is not today. So anyway, you might think, oh, I've got the body off, but in terms of fitting the crew in there, it's still quite hard. Now, nevertheless, there is an extra screw just in here. So what we'll do is we take that out. As you can see, look, magnetic. Very handy for doing jobs like this. This tool, if you're not familiar, this is a Magnuson electronic screwdriver kit. Very, very handy. It comes with this lovely case, and I'll open it up just so you can see. I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that, but as you can see, we've got a couple of different heads, so any screws of any nature you can get out, and there is also this extending rod. So if you've got any particular screws that are a bit further down than you like, you can pop them in and get that, and that will extend it to about here. So yeah, absolutely great, but I don't need that today. As you can see, it's a magnetic bit holder, so that just holds it in there, and then yeah, I've got reverse or forward. So if you're unscrewing it, once you get to a certain point, it'll not allow you to keep on screwing in that you damage anything. So that is quite handy. But yes, anyway, we've got that screw out, but as you can see, the body is still on. Now, you can probably see here and here, and here and here, there's these little lugs, and all you have to do is just gently, probably one at the same time, but that's them out. Just press down. So the best thing about this is the chassis is metal. It's only the top that's plastic, but we just gently lever that out. There we go. And that will remove the whole body shell. So as you can see, this is basically every part that is plastic on it. and that reveals the metal chassis. Now, handily, there are these little dots, and I would imagine that is a point where it has been machined so that you can put these figures, and if I can make them stand up, but yeah, that will basically mean that they won't touch any part that's in there. If I just gently put that, which you probably can't see, but anyway, yes, it is that fact, so that they won't touch any part of the firebox and the cab detail or anything like that. So that way you can glue them in place, pop the body shell back on, and away you go. So that is the three pieces taken off. What I'll probably do is I'll move this part and this part over here, just so it's out of the way of the glue. And I need to find, I might use my glue pot, which is full of bits and bobs. This is just PVA glue because I was messing around and rolled it up. And I've got a cocktail stick there. Just get a little that dust onto the floor. I know, terrible. I do hoover up in here regularly, hence why I do that. I don't make a habit of doing that. But anyway, that'll make that a bit safer. So I'll pop those into there. I'll pop them up there. So that's the screws handily taken care of and will not lose them at all. I did forget to mention this. I've got a little dish basically for painting. If you are wondering what this is just a hummus lid that I've just washed. Basically so I can recycle it. So it's a form of double recycling. So what I'll do is I can put the paint on here, dab it around. When I'm done with it, you know, even if it dries, I can scrape it off afterwards. But what I'll probably do is, you know, it'll get recycled. Might use it a few times before, but my other half gets through enough things like this, so it makes handy help if I can keep hold of a little bit. But anyway, so as for the colours, what I'm probably going to do with the uniform is I'm going to paint the uniform first, and I'm not going to worry if I go over the faces or anything like that, and the hands, because they will get painted in the next part. So basically it's going to be a few sessions at doing this, but what I'll do is I'll paint the bodies, I'll come back, paint the head and the hands, and then any other detail that's also on the body. So it might, you know, there's the shirt at the top where it goes in, so that'll be a different colour. And then also we've got the spade and the shovel, should I say, on this. And then we've also got the seat and the boots as well. Sorry, I forgot about the boots. But yeah, there's a few different things to do. But what I will do is this. I think this is the one. Yep, blue. So just open the blue up. Won't need much, and it's best to always use less than you think you're going to use, because that way you won't waste it. But let's have a look. Dab that around. It's quite a dark blue actually. I don't think I will need to add any black to it. But the best thing is I can paint them, and if I don't like it, I can always go over it again. But yeah, just gently painting over the figures. Obviously, the less paint that you use, let's readjust my fingers a little bit closer so I can get a better grip. But yes, the less paint that you sort of use on the figure will just mean that essentially it will keep hold of all that resin detail. If I pour lots of paint onto it, because it's acrylic paint as well, it will just smother all that lovely moulded detail out of it. How's that looking? A bit more on the legs. The best thing as well by using not a lot of paint, as you can see, I've already used too much paint, as you can already see. So a lot of that will get wasted, unfortunately, but it is what it is. I tried to do the smallest blob I could, and even then it was too much. How's that looking? There we go. It's hard as well, I've got these lights and they're sort of reflecting off the paint a bit, so it's, forgive me if I'm sort of flipping it round all the time, but I'm just trying to make sure, because it's quite a dark paint compared to the black. Obviously I'm painting it quite a dark blue, so it is it's quite a hard colour to see, and the light's reflecting off of all the shine. Yeah, a little bit more. Try to do it a bit right-handed, which is foreign territory for me because I am left-handed. Yeah, I do enjoy painting though. It's very therapeutic. You get to think about things, you know, reevaluate and just relax. So, you know, it is nice. It's like a form of therapy. There we go. So that's that one all painted. I'll just grab him. Check. And go his back leg where I was holding it with the tweezers. I can hold him by a shovel now. And just paint his leg up. And the best thing is, it probably, with the amount of paint that I've used, it might be dry. Because what I can do is brush the paint down. If I go over it with a drier brush, any of the excess will be wiped off him. Obviously I don't want to take too much, so I go back down to the black, but that to me is looking okay. I've got a little bit on my fingers, not to worry. There we go. So that's the stoker done. Move on to the driver. Probably going to just do the driver with my fingers rather than using the tweezers, just because it's got this chunky seat that I won't be going anywhere sort of near. What I'll do is get the brush and start applying the paint. I will say as well, this is my first attempt in a very, very long time of painting figures. I used to do Airfix models when I was a lot younger, and you know, painting pilots and everything like that, but I was never really very good at it. Certainly, obviously now, I've learned a bit more techniques and how to be a bit more refined, but back then I just like to paint the planes or the helicopters or anything like that I used to do. But yeah, none of the locomotives that I ever had on my childhood layouts had any figurines anyway. There we go, just getting his leg. I'm sorry if there's lots of quiet points in these videos. I am trying to sort of keep talking all the time, but I don't want to get into a point where I'm just rambling about nonsense. So if anybody does want to speak in the comments down below, just, you know, let us know what you're up to in your modelling adventures at the minute. Are you, like me, painting figurines up? Are you doing your scenic work? Are you weathering a locomotive? You know, do you like doing this kind of thing, or do you hate it? It'd be interesting to know in the comments, but yeah, drop that down below. There we go, that's that leg done. I've got a little bit on his chair, but what I can do afterwards is I might probably turn that light off when I come to do the detailing. Actually, it won't matter too much, I don't think. Just readjust my hands. Best thing about this acrylic paint is it does wash off with water, so I do have that going for me at least, because I have got some on my hands, but at the end of the day they do call it messy modelling. And what I might do is I might switch to the tweezer now, just to get his back done fully. I do need to sort of invest in some better paintbrushes. I used to have loads at one point. And now I don't really have any. I had to steal this one from the other half, which she doesn't know about. And I prefer to keep it that way. Oh, there we go, we missed his foot. I mean his lower leg. But there we go, that is the driver done. The paint on my fingers is already dry and I can sort of almost rub it off. So not too bad. Let's have a look at this figurine. A little bit of paint coming off him, but he is almost dry. So what I might do is, I might just wait for a second and I might just put them in front of the fan. Sorry, my hands were a bit clamped up, so sorry if you don't like hand cracking, but they're getting a little bit on the side of stiff. I've been doing the garden all day, For anyone wondering, so I'm a little bit sore at the minute, so my hands are a bit, I'm sort of getting gorilla hands at the minute, because I've been grabbing hold of sleepers and fence posts and digging all day. So yeah, I am a little bit worn, hence why I'm doing this tonight, just for a form of relaxation. But yeah, what I'll probably do is I'll skip and I'll just put these in front of the fan, and well, hopefully they'll be able to dry. If not, you'll probably see me change outfits and we'll continue in part 2. Okay, so I've just had the figures in front of the electric fan, and other than the fireman's elbow, they are pretty much 100% dry. So it does dry pretty quick, this paint. Obviously I've used a very thin layer. But now what we're going to do is we're going to switch to the cotton buds, because I don't need very much paint at all. And I'll have a dig around and see what colours we can find. So I'm wanting more of a skin colour. And funnily enough, this one is called Flesh Tint. So we'll have a look. I don't think we might need to add any colour to that. You know, I might cross-reference with the Bachmann. A little bit on the pinker side. However, I think what they've probably done is they've made them a little bit dirtier with some weathering. So what we can do is we dab the paint onto the cotton bud, and what we can do then is essentially dab it on his face. Around the side. And I've made a bit of a pig's ear of that one. That's why I've got a box of tissues in here, not only for my hay fever, but so I can take better care with it. I think what I might do is, just to create a finer look, flip it round. See, knew the scissors would come in handy. I realised I'm cutting out with my left hand. You know what, now persevere with this one. There we go, that's better. That might make it a bit easier. Tidy that back up. Just snip this end off. Right, let's go for part 2. I'll put a bit more of an angle on it this time. That's a bit easier. A lot easier, yeah. I've caught the top of his hat, but that's not a problem. I think we've got enough paint on there for it to be realistic. And the best thing is the blue underneath, where I painted over it, has actually just gone on his cheeks a little bit, but it does look a bit like soot. So yeah, happy enough with that, to be honest. I might put a bit of a powdered look to it. After we've finished, but get his hands all sorted. So one hand. That's 2 hands. So there's a little bit on his hat, but what I'll probably do is, after he's dried, I'll get the cocktail stick back out and I will just go over with the blue, because I've still got some blue on here, and we'll give that another go. Right, so the fireman's going to be a little bit, I think, trickier. But hence, you learn. So yeah, I've just got a little spot on his shoulder, not to bother. And I've got a little bit on his hat as well. That is fine. Just get his hand. There we go. So I can go over his sleeve and his hat and his shoulder. But yeah, happy enough with those two that we've got them. So as you can see, I'm not perfect, but I don't think it's terrible for a first attempt. So again, going to part 3 now. So we'll do his boots next, and then I'll before I get for the boots, we'll do patchwork because the boots won't really matter, and then we'll do the stoker's shovel as well. We'll give that a nice colour. Probably give her a metal handle, and then what I might do is sort of dry brush on a little bit of black. I might mix a black and a grey together to sort of create a sooty feel. Or I could dunk them in my, just give them a shake in the fluval carbon, which is charcoal. That does have quite a lot of dust on it. So I could pour a little bit in the jug or something, just give them a little bit of a shake once they're fully dry. And then I can wipe them off with a clean cotton bud and wipe off any of the dust that's on there, but leave where I want it to be. that might be an idea, that give it more of an authentic feel. But yeah, what I'll do next is we'll dry these off, and I'll see you in part 3. Okay, so we're back at part 3 now, and I've already gone back over with the blue just to cover up the marks that I already did, but I don't think it's looking too bad personally. I think the stoker is looking a little bit better, I think, personally, than the driver. But there's the driver. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to colour in the boots, and we're going to pick out the whites of the shirt, let that dry, and then I'll come back and do the stoker's shovel. Now, I think personally I'm looking at it that it probably should all be a black part, so I'm not going to bother filming that just because it is a matter of just covering up the parts where I painted pink, essentially. So yeah, in terms of brown, I've got quite a lot of options available to me. So we've got light red ochre, which is just like a reddy brown. We've got copper, so we don't want that. Ones here, we've got raw umber, burnt umber, burnt sienna, and then raw sienna. Let's see if there's any others. I can always mix one, but I'm thinking just going on these guys here. So in fairness, they've got black boots, so yeah, I'll probably go black as well. Makes sense with them working in a dirty environment, have black boots and shine them. So yeah, what I'll probably do is we'll get the white out instead then. I should probably put the lids back on. Top tip, put the lids back on because it won't dry anything out. That will explain, that's where that one's come from. Titanium white, here we go. Right. Yes. So this is where the, it's handy design, but it lets too many out. So yeah, this is where the toothpicks are going to come in handy. So what I can do is, it'll take a few coats, but effectively put a blob of white there. Take our little figurine and then just gently touch up where the white should go. I probably use way too much white, but again, now, unlike with the skin colour paint, I've just caught his hand there, but I'm deliberately putting a little bit more on than I should. Wipe that off his hand. Because I can go back and touch up areas with a different colour once this dries. But with a toothpick, it just means I can get into those finer, hard to reach places. Now, obviously at the minute he looks a little bit like a shepherd, but I'll have a closer look. As you can see, I've gone over the lines a little bit, but it's not to bother because it's easier to close in those lines than it is to paint over them. So you say, why don't you do that first? But it's easier to do it this way. Because it's just flex. So yeah, so that's the shirts. Essentially I could do the same with the black. So you don't need all that much in terms of paint. So I can get a new one out for the black. I can paint over his boots with just a cocktail stick. Don't know why I decided to do underneath the boots, but because you're never going to see it. There we go. I can touch up the handle. The best thing about using the cocktail stick as well, you can get inside the gaps in its hands, so that I'm getting the whole handle painted then. Just get his spade finished off. Just flip it round to the other side. There we go, just going to paint the coal as well. It's all just going to be the same colour because it is moulded. At the end of the day, from a distance, probably not going to notice. I mean, I could put a realistic load, I guess, on top of it, but I think that would make it look like a superhuman with his almighty shovel full of coal. Like a twisted version of Santa. There we go. I'll just leave that there a second. That is the stoker done. So as you can see, it looks a little bit like one of those judges with the frills coming out of his neck. So I will tighten that down a little bit. Again, I'll use the cocktail stick. Make him stand, there we go. We'll do the driver next. So he's only got his boots and his chair, but tempted to leave the chair just as moulded detail. At the end of the day, you're not really going to tell. There we go. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to bother doing his chair because at the end of the day, it's just going to blend in with everything else. So yeah, that's the driver. So as I say, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let these dry. I'll paint over the blue, and then we'll move on to the next stage, which we'll be gluing them in place. That's where the tweezers will probably come in handy again, and the cocktail sticks. But yeah, we'll get those dried, and we'll get on for, what's this now, part 4. I think. Yeah, part 4 we'll get them glued down. Okay, so we're moving on to part 4 now, and I've already done the bits, but as you can see it's a little bit more triangulated now. Just shows the collar of the boiler suit and then the shirt underneath, so it definitely looks a lot better. They're not 100% dry, but they're certainly dry enough that I'm happy to go and stick them on the locomotive now. So I've cleaned my hands best I can. There's a bit of paint stuck to it, but it is dried on, so I've got no worries of doing that. But anyway, what we're going to need is my trusty little bit of plastic. I'm going to just pop this all over here now. So I'll pop it on this side because we no longer need it. And what we do need is, again, the Gorilla Contact Adhesive Crystal Clear. As I say, so this bonds metal, glass, fabric, wood, ceramic, leather, paper, rubber, plastic, and more apparently. Holds in seconds, it's repositionable, and creates a permanent bond. And believe it or not, this is actually cheaper than buying the Gorilla Super Glue Gel. So I got this from Tesco's, which, if you're not from the UK, is a giant sort of like supermarket. And this was £4.50. So I think that's a pretty good deal for a 75-gram tube. As I say, you don't really need a lot for what I'm about to do. But what I'll do is I'll take the lid off. Quickly put the lid back on. So one thing to note, compared with really super glue, this stuff does stink. So yeah, it's good to be in a well ventilated area. I'll say I am in the shed, but the door is slightly cracked. It's more outside than say doing it at a work office, but I'm going to be very quickly. So I think what we'll do is we'll get the driver positioned first. So what I'll do is use the cocktail stick, and essentially, if you can see that sort of wisp, that is what I don't want. So it's a little bit like twirling honey. Oops, I want to get enough on and break that wisp, and then dab it onto the locomotive. Stick that back in there, and then I might actually need some more on there actually. Yeah, I'll dab a little bit onto the bottom of the driver as well. There we go. There we are. As you can see, it's as easy as that. Now he's fully sat there. What we'll do is we'll wisp it up again. Put a blob where I want to put the fireman. Stoker, as I should say. We'll put a blob on his feet. And a blob on his sort of giant placing foot. There we go. There we go, can reposition him. but they are stuck. So as you can see, very, very quick and easy to use. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly put the body in position just to make sure that they are not going to catch it, which, looking at it actually, they're both a little bit too forwards. I'm going to have to twist the stoker inwards, and I'll just move the driver back so he's more or less sat at the rear. There we go. Just test that again. There we go. So they have clicked down, but I will say it's a very, very tight fit. There we go. And what I can do now is reposition them enough. Just move the driver a bit back from where I want him. Just wanted to separate them enough that they will be okay. But there we go. So the driver sat down, he's pulling his valves, and the stoker is chucking some coal in the firebox. They're not too close to each other now. I'll pull the driver right over this side so he's not in the way. I might actually knock him back a little bit more. Yeah, that's a bit better. So yeah, it's fully over the other side now. As you can see, it doesn't look too cramped. Plenty of room. The stoker's really the problem. I mean, the cab's not really big enough to have him facing more forwards, as I would probably say, but it looks like he's sort of shoveling and away he goes. I mean, you could always, because the coal load is here, so you could always have him that he's getting coal from the coal load shoveling and facing more angled towards, but I think it looks better if he looks more like he's angled, like he's stoking the fire. So that is that really. That is visually upgrading the Hornby Smokey Joe. So all I have to do now is put the screws back. So we have the smaller screw. As you see, once the screw hits in place, if you can hear that clicking sound, that's in place, and the screwdriver won't allow me to actually screw it in any further, which means I don't risk damaging the model. And then what we'll do is we'll put the body back on. Just check I've got it in the right position. There is an act to getting it on. There we go. But click on. I can now lift this all the way up, grab the screw. And there we are. So that is the wheel set back on. And as you can see, we've got a lovely painted driver in place and a painted stoker. Certainly for my first attempt, I don't think it's too bad. Could be better, I will agree. Certainly there is a bit more detail on the face, but to say I'm doing this in one sitting. But I could always come back and touch up areas. The best thing is with this contact adhesive, if you do, for instance, especially with crew members, if you don't particularly want them in there anymore, I say it's a little bit like hot glue, so once it's cured I can always pull them off, do some more detail, but I'd say definitely it's better to do that first. But yeah, I'm quite happy with the way this has turned out, and it'll be nice having a crew members on Smokey Joe. So what I'll do is I will leave it there for tonight. I will let that bond for 24 hours. I say it should take about 5 minutes to secure a bond, but I'll leave it overnight. Come back tomorrow and we'll hook Smokey Joe up to a load. We'll send it around the layout and do some more close-up shots and see how it looks. And I've got some obviously footage from before, so I can show you how it looked before and how it looks now. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Okay, so that concludes this video. I'm really happy with how these figures have turned out. Certainly they could have been a little bit better, but I'd say for my first attempt I am very pleased with the end result. And I hope you've enjoyed the video. So if you have, don't forget to leave a comment down below, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. That means that you will get notifications when I upload new videos such as these and anything to do with model reviews, the layout update, and any sort of like how-to series. But yeah, that's everything from me today, guys. I hope you have a lovely day. Take care, and I will catch you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.